Right everyone, here's the next set of questions, paper 2 questions, remember, so it's calculator. Stop when you see the question, have a go at it, then follow the hints and the answers I've given to check how well you've done. Okay, this is a pretty standard question using multipliers or percentages over or less than 100. So, if it says increase, you start with 100 and add 9 to it, so the percentage is either 109% or the multiplier is 1.09. You'll have to work out from 2013 to 2017, it's 4 years, so that's why the power is 4. 32,000 was the original amount times 1.09 to the power 4 will give you your answer. 45,000 and stuff. Right, next question. Now we've had one like this in the previous set of questions. If you're dividing, remember the second fraction turns upside down and you times. Now what I've done is I've made the individual q term and p term power 1. So if I'm multiplying across the way, I get 6p cubed q squared over 15pq, then I can cancel out the p terms and the q terms. So I've got the whole numbers 6 and 15, they cancel down by a factor of 3. P cubed divided by p to the 1 is p squared. Remember, if you're dividing, you take away the powers, and same with q squared over q to the 1 is just q. So that's why I've got 2/5 or 2p squared q over 5. Right, next. Okay, now, when you've got a vector question, you must use only the vectors you're given and the ones you absolutely know are the same. So you only know u and you only know v. If you're wanting the negative, then minus u goes that way, and minus v goes that way from c to b. Right, so you're told that AD is a quarter DC, so this bit is a quarter of this bit. So if this is 1/5 of the whole line, this is the extra 4/5. Now that's going to be useful in the second part when we're working out DC. Right, so AC has to go from A to B to C. That's what we've got written here. So we use the vector AB and the vector BC, nose to tail, so it's U plus V. Now, like I said, DC is 4/5 of AC, the whole thing. That's 1 part to 4, so the whole thing is 5, so that's 1/5. DC is 4/5 of the original vector AC, which we got, so it's 4/5 of U plus V. Right, now, it tells you a severe? No, it's not severe. It's not even a severe question. A sphere. It's a capacity of 2 litres. Now, you've got to remember 2 litres, if you're talking about volume, is 2,000 centimetres cubed. That's the formula you're going to use. Volume of sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Now in this question, you know that the volume is 2,000. You need to work out your r cubed. So what I've done is put in the information. I know that's 2,000. I know pi is a number. The only one I'm looking for is r cubed. So what I've made is 2 fractions. 2,000 over 1 is 4 pi r cubed over 3. R is what I need to get, so we cross multiply everything away from the r term. 3 moves up to the top. 4 pi moves down to the bottom, the other side. So you end up with r cubed equals 6,000 over 4 pi. Now be careful here, folks. 4 pi should go in brackets because you don't want to divide by 4 and then times by pi. So 4 pi goes in brackets, so you're dividing by both of them. Gives you 477.46. the cube root of r cubed will give you r. That's 7.82. Now you've got to remember that the diameter is what the question asks for. So times by 2, get 15.64 as your answer. Okay, now this is a question which needs you to put this equation and this equation together. You've got an x and a y term in both, so it must be simultaneous equations. The first thing you do is scale them, so you need to make either the x terms the same, or the y terms the same. I am going to go ahead with the y terms. So that's what I get when I multiply the top one by 3 and the bottom one by 5. So these are the two equations I'm going to play with. Now why do I add? I add because these will cancel out when I add. If I take them away, I will not cancel these out. I won't eliminate them. So if I add here, I have to add all the way through. I have to be consistent. Now, like I've said before, folks, this should be a very simple equation and should not really tax you very much. So if you get horrible numbers for your x term, it's likely you're going to be wrong. Here, this is easy, x is -1. Then what you do is to substitute back to get y. So y is 4 in this case. Now it says, where do the lines meet? That and that need to be put into the correct context, a coordinate point. Alright, so this is a fairly standard question where you have to work out the mean and the standard deviation. First things first, add them all up. Now I've written sigma x, that's the sum of all these numbers here. The mean is when you divide this total by the number of numbers you've got. Now in this case you don't have to count them up because it says there are 6. Next thing we have to do is work out sigma x squared, which is this number squared, this number squared, this number squared, this one squared, this one squared, this one squared, all added up, and that's the answer. Right, so this is the formula you get off the formula sheet. You need to be very careful, folks, that you do not put the mean value in that space there. Once you've worked out the mean, you do not incorporate it into that working. So that's sigma x squared, that's sigma x all squared, that's n minus 1. So tidying up the top, we get 60 over 5, which is root 12, so we get the answer 3.46. 1 or 2 decimal places is fine. Now the second part of the question is a fairly standard one as well. 2 comparisons against a different set of data. So Kira United's average attendance was 12,000, standard deviation of 5.7. Now, the main thing you say, you are comparing that one and that one, mean and standard deviation. So, first one. You can obviously see that Kiri Town's mean is higher than Kira United, so you'll say on average Kiri Town's attendances are higher. As far as the standard deviation is concerned, 3.46, which you've calculated, is less than 5.7, so you say that Kiri Town's attendances are either more consistent or you could say they're less spread out. Right, next question. Is this a right angled triangle? Now, the key to this is working out something which links this triangle, which you know quite a lot about, with this triangle, which you know less about. Now, ACD is this triangle. You will have to work out if this is a right angle. The key side is this one, AC. So you can use Pythagoras with triangle ABC, work out this one, and then apply it to this triangle. So, working for AC gives you 2, 8 and 9 as your squared value. So AC is 17, that one there. So using the new 17 and 7 and 18, you can see that 338, which you get from these two, is not the same as 324. So it's not a right angled triangle. It would have to be exactly the same for it to be a right angled triangle. Right, standard question, quadratic equation. Write down your values of A and B and C, which I've done already. There you've got your formula. Numbers in. Now remember, B is minus 5, so the negative of that is plus 5. Put each number you substitute into brackets so you can easily work them out, and that you don't miss the fact that this will be plus 25. And that simplifies down to these two, 5 plus root 41 or 5 minus root 41. Write down the values first, unrounded, to at least 2 if not 3 decimal places, and then you can round the answers you need because it says that's what you need to do. That's your final mark. There are your answers for your final mark in the question. Okay. Right, you have a composite shape and you want the area of the whole thing. Okay, so you've got your rectangle and you've got your triangle. Now it tells you it's an isosceles triangle. Okay, so the first thing to do is work out the rectangle. That's fairly straightforward, or at least it should be. 22.5 times 13.5. There's the answer for your rectangle. Now the next thing is to use your triangle formula. Half AB sine C, because it's not right angled, neither do you know the height. What you can work out is the angle at the top is 106 degrees. If it's isosceles, that's 37, so is that, leaving you 74 for those two, leaving you 106 for the top one. That's the angle you're going to use in your formula. So the formula is work that out. Then for the total, just those two answers added together. Right, quadratics. Here I'm going to ask you to work out the three coordinates A, B, C and not D. Leave that one for the distance CD. Right, so A and B, they're roots. So the roots y equals 0. That means that this equation equals 0, the height is 0. Now, notice there's a minus x squared. That's not the easiest thing to factorize. So what's going to happen is you're going to take out a negative. Make the x squared term positive. That changes all the other terms' signs. That is something you can now factorize down into two brackets. So you've got x minus 8 and x plus 2. Solving that, you get your two values for x. So which one's which? Well, it should be fairly straightforward. That A is at minus 2 and B is at 8. For the y-intercept at C, you can see that it's on the y-axis, so x is 0. Therefore these two terms cancel out. You're just left with 16. Now question part 2, what's the distance CD? Well, you know that C is at a height of 16. D must also be at a height of 16 if that's a right angle. So there's the equation you have to solve. We've got our original equation and that's the height it's at. So you will notice that these two terms are the same, they cancel out. So you're left with minus x squared plus 6x equals 0. That can be factorised using a common factor of x. So either x is nothing or this bit is nothing. That will tell you the c value, which you know already, and that will tell you the d value, which you now know. So the distance between c and d is 6 units. Okay, right. A couple more questions to go. 6 tan x plus 7 is 2, normal trig equation. Take 7 from both sides. So tan x is minus 5 over 6. Now remember what happens in the next bit. You take the positive value. We'll deal with the negative in a minute, but that's your acute angle in the first quadrant. Now, like I said, because tan is negative, we're choosing the two quadrants in our quadrant diagram where tan is negative, i.e. tan is not positive. Tan would be positive in here and here, so we have to choose these two. So we've got 180 minus and 180 plus. Okay, especially for Robbie. Hope you get this far, Robbie. Are these two thingies mathematically similar? Right, so you've got two volumes and two heights. So what we want to know is what factor takes this height to this height. So the linear scale factor is the new divided by the old, which simplifies down to 3/4. Because we're talking about volume, that's what this capacity is, we are cubing our scale factor and multiplying it by the original volume to get down to what we should have in our smaller thingy. Now we can see 120 is not equal to 108, therefore not mathematically similar. Close, but not close enough. Okay folks, I think that's it for the second one. Hopefully that all makes sense. If not, then you can message me or speak to me. Well, it's Sunday evening now. If you want to speak to me tomorrow at school, that's absolutely fine by me. I will see you at some point. If not, best of luck for your exam on Tuesday.